Well, good evening. Great to have you guys on board tonight. I am broadcasting from Luke Air Force Base in Phoenix, Arizona this evening. And I've been on a road trip series for a while for the Air Force. So it's been pretty interesting getting opportunities to visit a lot of people and deal with a lot of challenges. And so, in many ways, that really sort of underscores some of the things with leadership and how you deal with people and stuff. Earlier this evening, I had a great conversation with Charles Butler, and we were talking about some shared stories because of our military experience and stuff. And really, what the importance with leadership is getting everybody on board to go to the common goal. And as a leader, really getting everybody to point to that goal and convince everybody that everybody is there and it has the common goal and a purpose to be able to do that. We can talk about all these leadership theories that you're going to be and have been reading in Norhouse's textbook. But the bottom line is, how do you motivate people in different situations with different backgrounds, in different settings, and all of these different types of things? It's really a very, very challenging thing to do. And we're even talking about a generational thing where some of the older generation were a stick in the mud, don't really like being told much what to do. But Charles brought up that how they are much more relational, and that may not be the case with the younger generation, but they're more flexible and to be able to learn and willing to learn. It takes some criticism and stuff. So, with that being said, we have two theories that we're going to be talking about. And it really sort of gets to the heart of these things, the path goal theory and the leader member exchange theory, or it's known as LMX. And basically, it's how do you get people onto a path to reach a goal that's in an organization? And from a leader member exchange, the LMX theory, how do we deal with individuals to be able to get everybody to work together? So those are the things that we're going to be talking about here. Before we do that, um, obviously those two in the version or edition 9 of Norhouse is going to be found in chapter 6 and 7. For your module assignment, we got two parts here and basically discuss how the path goal approach could be used in a virtual team. Boy, that's difficult nowadays. It's difficult enough when you got everybody face to face in the same room and stuff. So, how do we do that when people are not even relationally connected in the same, physical space? Second part of this is using a search engine. Yeah, this is fun for you Google guys that love to search some of the key terms that are found in the leader management exchange or member exchange, the LMX. Find an article and provide a link, write a short summary of their content and how these issues play out in the workplace today. What does the new information contribute to our understanding of the leader member exchange? Okay. So look for things where there are some challenges in an organization. That's where you're going to get most of the dynamic and the interaction with this. And where the story talks about different members of an organization have varying opinions and stuff. Okay. So again, cover page thing, have been showing and putting the example in some of the module 3 things of what the actual picture in figure 2.2 of the APA 7th edition is. Okay. Um, if the paper says that it's only going to be one page, or if it's 2 pages or whatever it is, at that point, if you just meet that, that's meeting the standard. So that would be a C. So why am I saying this? Because as you guys have seen, many of you, when I'm talking about paragraphs, if you only have 2, 3 sentences, okay, first sentence is introductory, the third sentence is a conclusion. You only got one sentence of meat in there. So it's really hard to develop an argument or a point or anything like that. So, especially when you're talking two parts and stuff, it's really difficult to be able to do that. It doesn't mean if you are the wordsmith of words that you couldn't do that on one page and it could be an amazing thing. I mean, look at Lincoln and his Gettysburg Address. I think it was 740 words or something like that. Not very long. So, but most of us are not Lincolns and we're not wordsmiths to that standard. Okay. Discussion questions. You can see the four questions that are here. Typically, again, we want the first post by the Thursday, the second post by the Saturday. Get a special treat for you on this module four. Besides the other two assignments, you have a midterm exam. It's 20 questions. If you guys are going to be looking for just very black and white type of questions, you're going to be really disappointed. They're more scenario based. So, what scenario based means, you got to learn more than the nuts and bolts of the theory. You need to understand the heart and the intent of it. So, it's 20 questions, no time limit. Again, as with the papers, it's due on the 10th. Okay, so let's dive in to the path of goal theory here. So, um, a guy named House is the one that initially came up with the theory. Bottom line describes how leaders' task oriented behavior, meaning I got something that needs to get done. Here's the task to be able to get there, and how my relationship to people, how I'm supporting them. So, supportive leadership can actually influence those that are my subordinates, those that follow how that actually is going to work out. Okay. The definition you see there is from a guy named Yeckel. He's like Norhouse written textbooks as well, too. Okay. So reasons for developing the theory, well, again, like everything else, the previous theories didn't work out, had some holes in it and stuff. But the key to this theory was it contributed to the importance of leaders understanding how to empower their subordinates. Okay. And a way to help bring subordinates along to be able to accomplish the work. So now, instead of these theories where I either I'm a great man because I'm just a great leader, so everybody's just going to magically follow me, to, well, I have certain skills. So if I have these skills, huh, okay, people are going to bow down as well and say, hey, he's got leadership skills. Let's follow this guy. Now, it doesn't quite work that way. And, and just some of the other theories. So they're sort of poking at the edges of things. The path goal now is the first one that starts like, man, we need to really start working with the people that we're leading to be able to motivate them and to come alongside them. So it's now not just the external factors, we're looking at internal factors. Okay. So, anyway, those are just a real quick overview of this. Here's some of the key people that have done some of these things. We can see another group of people in 57 did some things, but you can see that House in 71, 74, again in 74 with another guy, and in 96. So 26 years, this House dude really like put this thing together. So this was a lifelong work here. Okay. So, as we sort of talked about real quickly, we as leaders have followers. And so, all of us, we pretty much know if we're in any type of supervisory position, whether that's, you're head of the mailroom or you're mid level, you're head of the production line, or at the executive level, I'm the head of the accounting, or I'm the CEO or COO. I know where I need things to be. There are certain things I need them to go. So I have to, as a leader, come alongside people and say, okay, here's where I'm needing you to be, but here's the way to be able to get there. Here's the way to navigate any obstacles. Here are some of the obstacles that you're going to navigate. It's great. I love having roadmaps. And I especially like actually having, Google Maps or something like that, and you get the along the path, you get the yellow or the red on the freeway that basically says, "Hey, there's congestion ahead. Here's another way to be able to get there quicker." That's what you as a leader are going to do. Here are the typical obstacles that you're going to encounter, and here's how you navigate around them. So defines the goals, clarifies the path, removes obstacles, more identifying and processes to remove, and then just support. Hey, you're going the right way and just keep going. Okay. The figure you can see here is from page 259. So I'm putting this in here so you guys can go into Norhouse and take a look at this. So again, this is his ninth edition. All right. I know some of you may have the eighth edition. A lot of the figures should be the same. They may be graphically looking a little differently. Okay. So we're looking at now developing us a little deeper. We're looking at leader behaviors, how I behave with my followers. What are the follower characteristics? Just like I was talking with Charles, older generation, younger generation, there's different characteristics. Not that they're bad. There's a lot of things in the younger generation that's like, yeah, I'm willing to think outside of the box. Yeah, I'll be willing to do that. Or an old fart like me, like, now been there, done that, don't want to do it. Well, it may not have worked in your day, but it might work in this day. Okay. What are the characteristics of the task? Do I need an engineer or do I need someone that's really savvy and understanding how to get things done? As a leader, you need to probably use both, or in certain tasks, someone that really is the engineer, or another task, someone that just like forgets about, the highbrow knowledge and stuff, but just can get things done. So the bottom line is understand your behavior, how it influences people, understand the followers, understand the task. And in knowing those three things, you motivate the followers to be able to get to the goal and you outline the path of how to get there. Okay. So when we're looking at some of these things here, again, leader behavior, follower characteristics, task characteristics, you can see the different types of leadership that could be needed in each of these things. So, directive leadership is dogmatic and authoritarian. The task could be ambiguous, unclear, complex. Some of these things here, if it if these are going to be in this area, that's probably going to be a leadership behavior. Um, Probably the best example of this is in war, in a battlefield where you have the fog of war. And you got the drizzled, we can see the images from the movie Patton, where there's smoke in the battlefield and the haze is there, and he's on a precipice looking down, looking dogmatically and just directing people and stuff. So because people can't see, it's unclear, it's complex of what's going on. You need someone that, because of the urgency of the situation, hey, I need you, Jimmy. I need you to go over here and take care of this now. Bob, I need you to handle this. Okay. So that's where directive leadership can be helpful. Okay. Supportive leadership is want to have repetitive type of tasks. Okay. Um, Basically, if it's not challenging or if it's boring and mundane, this is where supportive leadership is because of the task, they're not going to be satisfied because they're not challenged doing the same thing for 50,000th time. They need to be consistently tied to, okay, this is why you're doing it. We need your consistency here. We need you to be able to do this. And you're doing a great job in this. So thank you very much. Again, supportive. Again, the task characteristic is it's unclear, ambiguous, but the biggest difference between directive leadership and participative leadership is one of the complex versus unstructured. Okay. So really what they're needing help is not a sense of urgency, but we need clarification on particular things. So we don't need to be directed, but we come alongside, we participate. This is what House is really talking about with the path goal theory. Some of the strengths provides a great theoretical framework, how a leader behaves, how that behavior affects follower performance. And as I mentioned, the first theory to really specify distinct varieties of leadership that are really more relational. And it attempts to integrate, for again, the first time, motivational principles. Okay. Uh, Reminds leaders, I think this is probably the most important thing, that the purpose of leadership is to guide and coach followers as they move towards a predefined goal. Criticism, it can be complex because there does seem to be a lot of moving parts. When do you use this theory and based upon the situation and the task and the people? The problem is this, and you've seen this at the end of every chapter so far, when Norhouse is talking about okay, criticism, research isn't validating it. Why? Because leadership is complex. Because you got tons of different people, tons of different type of leaders, tons of different types of situations, and a multitude variety of leadership organizations and situations. I mean, so it's not a one size fits all. And we as people, we like nice, neat, tidy boxes to push things into to be able to have it be predictable in every situation. Leadership is not that way. Okay. So, anyway, the path goal theory attempts to be able to do just that. Application, well, again, because of the complexity, a lot of HR training departments in corporations don't really use it. However, what they do point to is emphasizing certain leader behaviors because of task complexity. The principles can be used at all levels of organization, so that's a good thing. But once again, the application is the purpose of a leader. Their central purpose is to define the goals, help people reach the goals in the most efficient manner possible. All righty. So this takes us to LMX, Leader Member Exchange Theory. Okay. This is going to up it a little level from what House did here. Definition, leaders are the most effective when they're respectful. So it's talking about the type of relationship. Path goal is I need a relationship. Well, this is what type? A respectful, trusting relationship that recognizes each employee is unique. Okay. You can see the page number is, or the date is a lot different. This is notes I took several years ago. It's from Norhouse's seventh edition, if I recall. So, why are we developing the theory? Well, because the path goal didn't talk about the type of relationship. Respectful and understanding is what LMX is really looking at. Okay. Key contributors have a lot of people that have done this. You're going to see Gran, you're going to see Ulbayan, you're going to see Maysfield a little bit, but Oldbine, you're going to see a lot. You see him in 91, 95. You're going to also again in 2012. Some of the new folks, the latest contribution is I'm not even going to attempt to try that first one, but Dashborough and Wires. And I think one of you folks had used this in some paper earlier, had seen it somewhere else. Okay. So, really, what it's talking about, LMX is looking at this thing called a didactic relationship. So, it's really the overflow, the points where the follower and the leader really need to be able to meet. Okay. Now, we can see they really make this complex. Okay. So follower, leader, L stands for leader, F stands for follower, the gray area or white area, that's what they call the didactic relationship. So we're just defining terms at this point. Okay. Now, one of the things that LMX does that Pascal didn't do, at least they didn't do very well, is there are going to be, based upon the leader, based upon followers, there are going to be all sorts of different types of relationships. Okay. So in the military, my experience in leading people in some of the work centers that I had people that were like, man, I had to constantly just think and babysit them. If you didn't have eyes on them, they were just like gone. Then you had the other guys that just like, okay, they would do the bare minimum. You had the other guys that were sort of like, yeah, they would show up some days and do stellar work, and other days they just like were like, who are you? Then you had these other guys that were the overachievers. So you can see this in what they're talking about here, all these different characteristics. So these are the sleepers, the Z's. Uh, okay. You got the people that are just out for lunch a lot of times, but sometimes they show up. Okay. Here are the other folks that like, okay, they do pretty good fair amount of time, and they're relied upon to be able to meet the minimum standards all the time. Then you got your people that just they're not satisfied with just meeting the standard. They want to go ahead and no kid knock it out of the park all the time. So what LMX does is this. Well, let's really simplify this because you got a lot of different relationships. So there's going to be as a leader the people you're just going to go to. Okay, so it doesn't matter what happens, these are my go-to people. So that's known as the in group. The out group is like, well, that's everybody else. Okay, so these are the ones that just do the more boring, mundane, salt mine type of stuff. Here are my rock stars. Here are the ones that I can lean on for whatever I need to have done. So really what LMX has done is it's not really politically correct. And this is part of the problem, as we'll see later in the theory here, is it almost seems discriminatory, where it's advocating not treating people all the same. Well, the reason why it's a critique, because that's really what the theory is saying. Okay. So you can see there are in phases of leadership development no matter who you are as a leader, no matter who the follower is, whether it's the rock star or the guy that's sleeping all the time, you're going to go through three phases. Stranger, like I just met you, don't know who you are, don't know if you are someone that I can really rely on, or if you're someone I'm always going to have to be watching. That happens in the acquaintance phase. Partnership phase is basically, okay, I know who you are. You're somebody I can work with. Sometimes people don't really get to the partnership phase. Okay. But what ends up happening is the role, it's pretty scripted. You got to test things. Now you negotiate what the partnership is. Influence is, as a leader, it's pretty much a one-way thing. Now I get to know someone. Now there's a little back and forth, so somewhat, but as a leader, I'm still pretty much telling you what to do. Path, what you have on the phase three, reciprocal, pretty much 50-50 working together. Exchanges between the leader and the follower, low quality initially. Hopefully it gets to the medium quality. Those people really, the end group is the phase three. Everybody else, the out group, let's you some people are still going to be a stranger. There's people I've known for 5-10 years and you're still trying to figure them out. Okay, but these are the things that LMX does regardless of the leader to the follower. You're going to move through these stranger, acquaintance, and partnership phases, and they sort of look at subcategories and how you're going to interact. Okay, Now, one of the things that LMX does that Pascal didn't do, and none of the other things did do, is there are emotions that are involved when you're leading people. Okay. Sometimes you're going to tell people to do things, they're going to be really mad. Other times, hey, man, you're going to make people really happy. It just is what it is. And so that's one of the greatest contributions that LMX has is look at leadership is an emotional thing. And there are going to be things that Charles and I were talking tonight, again, where there's one person that just did something really stupid. I guess he was drunk and incapacitated at an isolated location. The customer calls him up, basically states, yeah, when are you sending somebody out my way to replace this dude? Like, what's going on? He says, man, he is like drunk as a skunk. He's incapacitated, been in a bender for like 2 or 3 days. You need to send somebody out. And so as a leader, that made Charles like really not happy. And he basically said he had to understand his emotion because he knew he wanted to kill him. Okay, not the right response. All right. So he had to just cool down and deal with it when he was in a better state. And I've been there before and stuff. So you got the leader emotion, the member emotion, and a lot of times there can be some tension that's going there. And this will determine the quality of the relationship. That doesn't mean that people that you really trust that you can't be mad at and still can't work things out. That's what the trust piece. This is where investing in a relationship is. This is where you guys see things differently, but you trust that you both are wanting to get to the goal and you both have the organization's mission in mind. But we need to know leadership can be a very emotional thing and it can derail things if we don't deal with the emotions. So, practically, how does it work? Well, it is both a descriptive and a prescriptive theory. So, descriptively, recognizes the importance of in and out groups. In groups are more willing to do more difficult jobs, so leaders give them more responsibility. Out groups do the bare minimum. Big thing, though, you don't treat them like dirtbag. They still have to treat them fairly, but don't give them special attention. Okay, but that's not politically correct. That's one of the things that's the problem. Prescriptively suggests leaders can create special relationships with followers. Again, that's a slippery slope, especially in today's environments. Okay, so but remember these theories, this one in particular. Let's see if we go back. Pretty much, we're looking from 75 to 25-year period, maybe a 35-year period. Okay. But the majority of the scholarship was done 30 or 40 years ago. Different world. Okay. So also prescriptively nurturing relationships. And we go like nurturing a business. Those two words don't seem to connect, but there's a lot to that. And you just got to come alongside people. That's the thing about being an effective leader is to figure out where people at and get them from where they are to where they need to be. And a lot of times that just means nurturing. It's a good word, but a lot of times we're uncomfortable. So application, again, HR departments aren't using it. Why? Well, because it can be complex. It is taking people that aren't used to nurturing, they like directing, and so it's like they almost need to reinvent themselves. And it's really difficult. So when you're in an HR thing to get people to do some of those things, it's like I hate to say this, but it almost sort of goes to the great man theory in a way that if you don't have nurturing tendencies, you don't have relational tendencies, then this isn't going to be for you. And that's part of the challenge. Okay. But just saying, this is an essential part of leadership as well, too. So I'm one of these people that in my younger years, I just wanted to say something and just I expected it to be done. It needed to be done. And if you weren't going to do it, then guess what? You didn't need to be part of my program. Well, people aren't push button. People got issues. People got challenges. And you can really get rid of some quality people because you don't want to take the time to figure out what's going on. And boy, that's losing people at a high cost because you're not willing to take the time. So I'm a little older, a little more seasoned, a little wiser, a little gentler, and that's a good thing. And that's a critical thing with leadership. And that's really what LMX is telling us. Strength describes work in terms of who contributes and those who don't, or at least not as much. It's only, at least to this point, leadership approach that considers the didactic relationship as the center piece of the leadership process. So, didactics, how am I going to get along with certain followers? Are you going to be part of the in crowd or the out? And it directs the leader's attention to the importance of communication, but it also, and it just sort of pops this in here, and it doesn't really talk about it a lot, but every one of us have biases that we don't even know that are around. And so LMX really helps us to, when I'm dealing with particular groups, why maybe are they not wanting to be part of the in group? Well, maybe it's because of something I'm doing or how I'm treating them. So that can have a large part of it. So it causes us to like, okay, if I were them and I was looking at me, what would be a barrier for me to really jump in? It doesn't tell, LMX doesn't tell you how to do that. It just says, hey, you might want to think about that. Okay. Criticisms. Okay. The political correctness when it comes to the fairness, in group, out group type of things. Um, okay. Theory's not fully developed and it doesn't really describe how high quality leaders are developed. Just saying you need to do this. That's why HR departments don't use it because this theory on its own merit doesn't really do that. Okay. Um, Researchers, once again, like, hey, this just doesn't seem to really, we don't have evidence on this. And it doesn't do a good job explaining the context of when a leader should be doing what, when they should be nurturing, when they should be going to the in group, those things. So that makes it really difficult from a research perspective to actually measure its effectiveness. Okay, so as I'm reading your papers, we talked about this a little bit in the beginning. It just the title page, things have changed a little bit with the seventh edition. Okay. So looking at the whole paper, if you go to the seventh edition, beginning at page 60, it takes an academic. So there's two papers. There's like a research paper format and there's an academic paper format. We're looking at the academic. So on pages 60 to 68, you go through, you can see how the headers are supposed to be done, subheaders are supposed to be done, how the citations are to be done, the title page, all of those types of things. Okay. Citations, again, some of you are just knocking it out of the park. Still, some of you are doing just one or two citations. Citation, APA is basically saying and strongly suggesting that for every thought, idea, concept, point, or principle, they strongly say two citations per idea or two citations. I'm going to have an increased focus on grammar. I pretty much haven't been looking at that as much, but I'm going to begin doing that. So you're going to start seeing more of these things. The goal is to not to try to be a grammar Nazi, an APA Nazi, or any of those things. It's like a lot of you guys are really smart and you're taking this stuff and you're like, oh, okay, this is how this could work. And you're writing some great stuff, great insight in things. But the fact of the matter is we need you to learn a format. Not that APA is the cat's meow, because I'm not a fan of it, but the fact of the matter is when we write as leaders, we have to write in a way that not only does our writing make sense, but it meets format. If we can't meet format and we don't want to pay attention to it, then if we write a scholarly article that's done very, very well, logically fills in all the gaps, someone that's uninformed, they're going to immediately gravitate to grammar and sentence structure, and paragraph structure, and even APA format and see this guy, gal has not paid any attention to this. So if they're not going to pay attention to wrestling with the details of something simple, can they really trust what they're writing? This is all about trust. This isn't about just being a Grinch on format. This is credibility. And so in this program, the MBA in ethical leadership, it's all about the ethical stuff. So if you're going to put a lot of work into what it is that you're writing, let's take the time to really dot the I's, cross the T's. So, from an ethical thing and perspective, that what we're writing is believable. So, that's the only reason why we're paying attention to all of this. Okay. So, I think you guys have seen this, the grading rubric here. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, I've already talked to several of you one on one on things, and if you're struggling in anything, please let me know. If you think there's something that I'm not being fair, let me know. And that's the biggest reason why I held on to the grades for the first couple of weeks, because I just wanted to make sure that what I was doing when I sent you the unofficial grade before posting it, that we were understanding if I give you you know, a time to be able to sort of rebuttal it a little bit. So I was just trying to be fair that way. So, but bottom line, if you have any questions on this, let me know. So again, on assignments, reading material, grading, or anything else, give me a call. So next week, I will actually be in town in San Antonio. And the following week, I'll be in Washington, D.C. But if you want to be able to participate and call in on these as well too, I'd love to have you there. It's better to have a discussion than a one direction conversation and stuff. If this time doesn't work, let me know what time does work. So with that said, work hard, keep the papers coming in, and good luck on the tests that you got coming up here this week. So we'll be talking with you later. Thanks so much.